Welcome back to the Yellow Submarine. Today, the submarine will take us to find out what the Beatles' most popular song was during their career. It is difficult, if not impossible, to scale the works of masters and geniuses. What is Picasso's best work? Which of Verdi's works is the most beautiful? What is Kubrick's most popular film? Who can say? Each of us favor one over the other for purely personal reasons. Still, determining a ranking among the many works deserving of the title of a masterpiece is extremely difficult. As a result, we avoided the idea of creating 5 of the best Beatles songs for a long time, because excluding major works from modern music history would have been a bloodbath. A 5 on the Beatles? However, the question can be approached from a different angle, and instead of discussing the best songs, try to focus on the most famous, cited, and loved ones worldwide. As a result, we believe that a young neophyte who has heard of the Beatles but has never really listened to them can use this as a starting point to orient him or herself in the history of training. A band that has only been together for a few years, but has forever changed the face of music. You can upgrade the Yellow Submarine in less than a minute for more regular updates by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Here are the 5 most famous songs by Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. Number 5. All You Need Is Love, from Magical Mystery Tour, 1967. The writing of All You Need Is Love, a song that belongs to the second phase of the Beatles' career, is to be ascribed to John Lennon's talent. The 4 from Liverpool began to make themselves known with a completely different image from the one they would have left the scene, just 8 years after their recording debut. In the early 1960s, Paul, John, George, and Ringo were typical good guys. They had neat hair, dressed almost like schoolchildren, and a very nice repertoire of love songs, but often well channeled within the tradition. However, everything gradually turned upside down as the decade progressed, and the Beatles were able to transform themselves into the most popular alternative band, or so we would call it today, on the planet, from all points of view. The hair became long, the interest turned toward the east, the songs embraced psychedelia and more full-bodied lyrics. Proof of this is also All You Need Is Love, one of their most famous songs, contained in the album Magical Mystery Tour. A song that embraced the ideology of the Flower Children, then just in formation, and became, despite its simplicity, one of the political anthems of that generation. The song was commissioned by the Beatles by the BBC to be presented as a live planetary TV broadcast. The program was titled Our World and aired on June 25, 1967. Precisely speaking to people all over the world and leaving an important message, Lennon decided to focus on the importance of love, and, in the name of a Baroque and overflowing pop, the message was certainly delivered. Number 4. Help, from Yesterday, 1965. All of the songs in this list are absolute classics, and you've most likely heard them hundreds of times. However, there is one that is a classic of classics, Yesterday. The song holds several records. The Guinness Book of World Records lists around 1,600 different versions, making it the song with the most covers ever performed. The American organization, BMI, is also the song with the most radio and television plays in history, more than 7 million. But it's not all about the numbers. Yesterday also appeared to be the first public approval, even 50 years after it was recorded. A poll of listeners and experts conducted by the BBC in 1999 named it the best song of the century, while other charts from MTV and Rolling Stone magazine named it the best pop song ever. In short, Yesterday is the most famous song not only by the Beatles, but possibly of all modern music. It appears to have been inspired by Paul McCartney's dream, though it is also credited to John Lennon. McCartney has stated numerous times that he first heard her taking a nap at the home of his then-girlfriend, Jane Asher. Then he wrote it, but he was certain it was a tune that had stuck in his head after hearing it somewhere, so he was afraid he had stolen someone's work. He made everyone listen to it for weeks, waiting for someone to say, "But it's copied from." Finally, however, no one thought it was equal to existing passages, so it was published. It was recorded by McCartney alone, accompanied by some strings, and made his first appearance in Help, an album that served as the soundtrack to the Harmonious film, at least in part. Number 3. Twist and Shout, 1963, from Please Please Me. Please Please Me, as previously stated, did not contain only songs by the legendary duo of John Lennon and Paul McCartney. 6 of the 14 songs were, in fact, covers that were doomed to fail except for one. To close the album, the Beatles included one of the songs that would become very popular, Twist and Shout. Phil Medley and Burt Russell had written the song just a few years before, and it was immediately shot as the Isley Brothers. The black group had been active in the American soul and R&B scene for some time, and they were able to propel the song to the 17th position on the US charts, a respectable result, but not comparable to what the Beatles received a few months later. The Liverpool Quartet placed the song at the album's end and gave it a unique performance. Apart from the singles, the album was recorded on a single intense day, with Twist and Shout being the final song recorded. This meant that the four musicians were nearing the end of their abilities, and Lennon's voice, the main singer at the time, was on the verge of collapsing. Nonetheless, the four gave the song one last burst of energy and recorded it in a single take. The song, which was released a few months later, sold 1 million copies in England alone and topped the charts. It did very well in many other countries and became a staple of the Beatles' live lineup for as long as they performed in concerts. It was then covered by a slew of other artists, including Bruce Springsteen, who used it hundreds of times in his live shows, albeit as a closing track. Number 2. Love Me Do, from Please Please Me, 1963. The Beatles played together roughly since the late 1950s, with some lineup changes. However, until 1962, they went to a recording studio and began to make their presence known to the general public. Love Me Do, a song loved by the group members but not kissed by excessive luck, was their first single in October 1962. The second attempt, Please Please Me, which came out 3 months later, fared much better, a song that was only the first in a long line of chart-topping hits. In March 1963, the Beatles were ready to record their first 33 RPM single, including some covers, unreleased songs, and the 2 previously released singles. Love Me Do begins the B-side of the record, with the signatures, as was customary, of both Lennon and McCartney, even though it was written solely by Paul. The song is a quick love song widely regarded as the first true Beatles song. The Battery, on the other hand, piques one's interest. There are 3 different recordings of the piece, all made between June and September 1962. The group's first percussionist, Pete Best, was still on the drums at the start. Ringo Starr replaced him in the second film because producer George Martin did not like the original drummer's style. Finally, in the third, the percussion was delegated to Andy White, while Ringo was demoted to the tambourine, again at Martin's request. The first version was released in 1995 as part of Anthology 1. After that, the second song was released as a single. Finally, the third can be found on the album Please Please Me, as is well known worldwide. Number 1. Hey Jude became the Beatles' most successful single. By 1968, the taste of the general public purchasing music had changed since the days when the Beatles first appeared on the scene. In February 1964, just before the band embarked on their first tour of America, the Fab Four topped the charts with I Want to Hold Your Hand. That melody had a 2-minute and 24-second fast rhythm. With songs like Love Me Do and I Feel Fine, the band returned to the top 5 more times that year. It didn't take long to figure out what these songs were about. In a nutshell, they were succinct and to the point, not to mention easy to remember. On the other hand, Hey Jude was a different story. Even though the message was simple and positive, its length of 7 minutes allowed fans to pause for a moment of reflection. Don't ruin it, make a happy song out of a sad one. Radio stations that were wary of long singles saw Hey Jude reach number 1. It debuted at the top of the charts in September 1968 and stayed there for 9 weeks. Paul's song, written to cheer up Lennon during his parents' divorce, could not be stopped. Hey Jude remained on the Billboard Hot 100 for a total of 19 weeks at the end of its run. There has never been a song by the Beatles that has lasted longer than 16 weeks. Come Together, Something, came the closest to matching Hey Jude's performance. Paul McCartney gave the thumbs up during the production of the new Beatles film, an animated feature called Yellow Submarine, in February 1968. The only other Beatles song to spend 15 weeks on the Hot 100 charts was the double-A side single Come Together, Something, 1969. However, when it reached number 1 in November 1969, it only remained there for 1 week. However, George had a number 1 hit before the Beatles split up. He gave all 3 songwriters a spot on the band's chart, with Lennon behind come together and Paul behind Hey Jude, with doubt any of them gave a hoot about it. What do you think of our video? Please leave any comments or suggestions in the comment section if you have any comments or suggestions. To continue to support us, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell to stay up to date.